The murmur was a couple of degrees cooler. Whether my judgments were popular or not, they had to live by them or risk being expelled from town. What they didn't have to do was live with me, except maybe 2 or 3 days a year. I was neutral and distant. I could be harsh where necessary, as long as I was seen to be fair. A charade, really. I had no power other than what they gave me. There are those who arrived more recently that you don't know so well. The murmur became ominous, and I looked askance at the new leader and then for the nearest exit. This speech was shaping up for a lynching. She let the noise swell, and then proved my fears wrong. But that don't mean the law don't apply. It don't mean they're not protected. And it don't mean doing them wrong goes unpunished. Bring forth the prisoner. There was a commotion behind me as the kitchen swing door rocked and then banged open. A big man was pushed forward, flanked by guards. His hair was unkempt and his hands bound by a plastic strip. It wasn't until he raised his head that I recognized him. Anton, the former leader of this hamlet. Sometimes my decisions are complicated. Nuances of, if not necessarily justice, then common sense, of cause and effect, punishment and crime. Other times, I'm just there to make things official. This was one of those. They wouldn't have arrested their former leader without good cause. Wouldn't have replaced him if his guilt wasn't certain. The story was as old as man and just as tired. A girl, Neha, was called forth. Tall and slim and young and pretty despite reddened eyes. She was the daughter of the shanty group's leader. Anton had made a play for her, and her father warned him off. Whether Neha encouraged Anton, innocently or otherwise, or he just assumed he could do what the hell he liked, he hadn't taken it well. And then Neha's father turned up, stabbed to death. Anton's knife was found wrapped in a blood-stained shirt, tucked in a dead tree trunk. Any claims of self-defense were already looking shaky when a witness popped up. A child, traumatized and hiding in the cab of an abandoned pickup. I had to listen to it all, to ask careful questions, had to interrogate Anton, face down his belligerence, question the girl and gently coax information from the young boy who had seen it all. Had to question Miller as well, confirm to everyone listening that her assumption of power was legitimate. There could be no discussion after the due process had not been observed. Who now leads the newcomers? I asked. A woman stepped forward. I do. Name's Laurie. She looked an older version of Neha. I couldn't tell if she was mother or sister, the dead man's wife or daughter. The years are harsh on people these days. If you're going to stay, I told her, there can only be one leader. If you're going to stay here, your group must move into the town's buildings. Winter's coming. Miller nodded, obviously a message she'd already tried to give. Laurie stared defiantly back for a long moment before bowing her head. I hope you do stay, I said. I feel for your loss, but the people of Crowhorn are good people, and together you are better off than divided. Will the accused stand? I asked. The guards at his elbows tried to lift him, but he shrugged them off, struggled to his feet. Anton, this is not a duty I relish. It is clear that yours was a moment of madness, a crime of passion. Whether you intended to kill or not, the result is the same, and there can be only one penalty for murder. I took a deep breath. The punishment is death. The diner erupted. Laurie and Neha hugged at the back of the room in relief or sorrow. Anton snarled and his guards gripped him all the tighter. I held up my hand, waited until silence descended. Who here will carry out the sentence? Miller was the first to speak. Quietly she said, I thought the justice. I spoke aloud. I'm no executioner. The murmur became a tide of resentment. I stared at the hardened men in the crowd, watched them wilt, turned to a suddenly pale Laurie, who bit her lip and shook her head. This town has agreed to be civilized, I told them. You can't permit a known murderer to live in your midst. People looked down and away, embarrassed, fearful, angry. I thought back to the light bulb lady, the feel of the sharp blade she'd held at my throat in the middle of the night, the kick of the gun I'd hidden in my bedroll, and sighed. Though the sentence is death, there is another way. You can send him back out on the road. Should he ever return to within 5 miles of this town, he must instantly be put to death. The road was harsh and lawless. I wondered if Anton would thank us for this cruel mercy. Turning my back on the diner, I headed for the swing door, hoping for an exit, a way back to Anderson's. I would not be dining with the people of Crowhorn this evening, and would once again skulk away at first light. Perhaps even before Anton. That might be for the best. I didn't want him lying in wait for me, even if he'd not fallen quite so low. Not yet. At the door I turned. Death or exile? Your choice. And may the Lord God have mercy on his soul.